appeal of abstract art for me is very specifically tied to its non-narrative qualities. It's so often touted that humans are a storytelling species, that story is so important. And it's always, I feel like it's always described as something that's really great, and rarely are the negative consequences of this focused on. I was just watching a documentary on a town that's, I was just watching a documentary about a conflict over territory, and I think I will intentionally not get into the specifics of it. But basically, if you can imagine, I mean, think Korea, think Cuba, think anywhere that we've had, think Israel and Palestine, there is a strong desire to have a story that makes sense, a narrative that makes sense, and in such, that impulse leads to wanting there to be good guys and bad guys, and characters that are that have stable character traits. Like I say, good guys and bad guys, which is not reflective of my experience of life. Um, I, when I was a young man, I was so very obsessed with meaning and figuring things out that it was harmful. And that was around the time that I got into making things like this. And it's been a process of letting go of an obsessive quest for definitive meaning. I could tell you that this provides as good of an explanation for me on the meaning of existence as anything else that I've ever heard or read. And how can you argue with that? I mean, you can say it doesn't do anything for you, and that's fine. That's you. But if I say, like, the meaning of life is all there, or, it's like staring at the waves, or listening to music without words and going into sort of a meditative trance. These are sublime experiences that transcend specific defined meanings, and that is where I have found growth and freedom in my life. When I get on this kick, it can be controversial because people love stories so much, and just to be provocative, then I'm anti-story. Of course, I consume stories. I am entertained by stories. I'm interested in stories, but so rarely do you find a story that is deep and complex and basically lengthy enough to give a real satisfying explanation for even the simplest thing. And knowing that, I do find I'm probably less interested in stories that provide answers in that way. I am a passionate creator and purveyor and proponent of abstract art, abstract expressionism specifically, because whatever it is that makes story so important to us, such a comfort, such a need, I feel that it's akin to addiction, and I'm simply trying to say over and over again for my whole life, consider other alternatives, consider other possibilities. And I'll leave you with, I started off by talking about conflicts in other lands where people are attached to their stories. It's the same here. I do feel it is essential for this nation, if we are to mature beyond the limits of the people we have been, we must be willing to let go of some aspects of the story that we have told ourselves this long. And that includes the good guys and the bad guys. And this unwillingness to be able to do it, I see as part of the addiction to story. Because then you go from, if you're going to make a change, well then, oh my gosh, all my ancestors that used to be the good guys are now the bad guys. What does that mean for me? How about history happened? I'm a separate person from that. There isn't a cohesive, coherent story. There isn't a narrative. There isn't a plot. This desire to be part of a story and for it to make sense and be satisfying is, I find, incredibly harmful. A barricade to growth. When I was younger, I was so obsessed with figuring things out to a very unhealthy degree. And that's why, for me, I had to go all the way to the other extreme of embracing this as my meaning of life, which is lack of meaning, openness. It helps me. Maybe it'll help you too. Definitely more on this later. This is what I'll never stop talking about. Over-reliance on story to the point of addiction gravity is the weirdest thing. Why did that happen just then? Nothing was touching it or anything. It's just something that was like this, just decided to do like this.